I think it's essential for a program of this nature to be open source. Satoshi Nakamoto. Welcome back to another episode of What is Your Bitcoin Story with your host Gigi, where we dive into the inspiring journeys and experiences of prominent figures in the Bitcoin community. Today, we have a pleasure of hosting Tomek, a libertarian activist from Poland, who's also an advocate of Ayn Rand's objectivism and a fan of prediction markets. With a passion for Bitcoin, Tomek has been involved in several Bitcoin projects, including Albi, a versatile browser extension that simplifies the use of Bitcoin and Nostr directly with the web browser, and of course, the Bitcoin Film Fest. Join us as we explore Tomek's unique perspective on Bitcoin and his journey down the rabbit hole and his contributions to the community. Welcome to the show, Tomek.
Hey, Gigi. Good to see you. Thank you for the invitation, and hello everyone who is listening to us.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure, Tomek. We met in the world of Nostrs, where I was trying to actually get myself to start out Albi, but at the moment it's only invite code only. So in exchange for the invite code, I did the value for value. I invited you over to the show to hear your Bitcoin story, because we're always looking forward to hear inspiring stories. So I guess we'll start it off with that, Tomek. Take us back to the beginning. How did you get introduced to Bitcoin and what drew you to it?
I don't recall maybe I recall my first interaction, but not like a sudden moment of realization, right? So I was a libertarian activist, and I am over here in Poland since many years. So always also interested in technology and the tools that bring us freedom. So it was natural that when Bitcoin made the news, 2000 maybe 13 or 14, I learned that okay, it exists. There is a money of the future, decentralized. I cannot say that I fully understood why decentralized or what does it mean, but that it's a money that is not controlled by state. And I was a bit inspired earlier by End the Fed campaign from overseas, for me from the US. I kind of felt or knew that the biggest industry, so to speak, or branch of society that is controlled by government, and the most crucial is money, because when the government controls money, they can control everything. So my first interaction with Bitcoin was that there was some lecture on Bitcoin, and there was a guy who was giving out paper wallets in Warsaw. And it was just our conservative liberal society. We had this bi-weekly meetings in a Warsaw basement somewhere where 20 people were meeting and discussing various libertarian ideas or news. So one of them was Bitcoin. It didn't catch up for me, but I knew that it exists, and let's try it. I installed something. I don't even remember what I was doing.
What year was that, Tomek?
I think it was 2013.
Okay. Oh, wow. Long time ago.
Yes, long time ago. I later, 14, 15, I was using Bitcoin on some dark market, buying books, right? Then also, right, I didn't put that much care or attention into it. I lost whatever I was using. I don't think it was much. And then my interest was slowly resurfacing in the following years, because doing various activism in Poland with a goal of promotion of free market and radical laissez-faire capitalism. Various activities like conferences that we organized, or some summer schools, libertarian soccer team, demonstrations in front of parliament, from a variety of categories, whether it's educational or activism or political action. I kind of felt somehow some kind of incoherence or maybe dishonesty of the libertarian movement that I was part of, or maybe not necessarily the dishonesty, but also inefficiency of those tools, right? I was starting to be surprised why actually we Polish libertarians or European libertarians, we were so concerned with whoever is going to start from the right-wing party in the local election and what is his view on abortion. These topics were and still are, unfortunately, occupying more of the discussions of libertarian communities than actual practical tools like cryptocurrencies or then Bitcoin, right? I wasn't an Axie from the beginning. So somebody was I was organizing those, I am organizing those Weekend of Capitalism. So the biggest, like Bitcoin, the biggest, also Bitcoin, libertarian conferences in Poland. And some Bitcoiners emailed me, hey, you should invite Saifeddin Ammous. He just published this book in English. So then I saw about this book. I listened to some lectures of Saifeddin. I contacted Polish publisher. I put the logo of my NGO on like Saifeddin Polish edition as a partner, and then we partner on 3 or 4 other translations. So slowly, like 2019, 20, pandemic hit. So you kind of get interested more into, okay, what is actually money, and is it good that? Of course, it's not good, but how impactful effects could be of manipulating, and there are, but maybe not so sudden, and usually people do not see the effects of monetary policies, right? Straight on the economy. So yeah, so that was like being libertarian. Bitcoin was kind of a natural topic, and then some kind of contempt grew in me why it's not that natural as it should be. So I focused my activism in Bitcoin, fully like publishing those books, bringing Bitcoiners to Weekend of Capitalism conference, then organizing Bitcoin meetups, Bitcoin 21 Polish community, some meetings in media and whatever I just feel like doing. It's now focused mostly on Bitcoin. Yes.
Amazing. And then?
Then everything happened. No, right. I guess many of your guests and you yourself have this falling down the rabbit hole when you feel also I don't want to work for fiat anymore.
Of course.
So I also committed time to educate myself and made some connections within the space. So now I'm working at Albi, where I made friends and contributed a bit. I was invited to join the team. I'm also a founder of Bitcoin Film Fest, where with Bitcoiners that I met at our Polish Maxi meetups, we just got this idea of having a Bitcoin Film Festival. So those are my 2 main Bitcoin projects.
Amazing. Well, it's interesting how to you kind of, you didn't find Bitcoin, but Bitcoin found you through your activities with libertarianism and kind of doing these social gatherings, getting people together and kind of landing on your lap without you even noticing kind of, what is this, maybe I'll try it out, but then, who cares? And then who knows, a few years later, it comes back full frontal and now you're fully involved in the Bitcoin ecosystem.
How did it look for you?
Yeah, well, not through libertarianism, but my story went through financial sector. So yeah, I used to work as a financial analyst, and back in mid 2017, a lot of the clients, they wanted to all trade Bitcoin and Ethereum, of course, and that's how my kind of journey went down. But even then, I would say myself as a late discoverer of Bitcoin in 17, there wasn't much educational stuff for the average people, and that's how I decided to go on my own venture. I started back in Cyprus, where I was based at the time, a Bitcoin and blockchain consultancy, educational consultancy. And that was my first kind of full-time job working in the space. And since then, there's been many different endeavors. At the moment, I'm still I have a day job, which is advertising and publishing. But since launching my podcast last summer, it's just been a year since I've been going strong. Every week there's a new episode, Thursday coming through. There hasn't been a single week missed. So dedication and proof of work is definitely there. And my goal is in the next 12 months, by next July, I definitely want to let go of the publishing side of the job and work full time on content creation, of course, the podcast. But I really want to focus on the educational part, because if we really want to see this hyper Bitcoinization and people and businesses really adopting and using Bitcoin, there's still a lot of room to help and educate people and open their eyes to the possibilities and why they should take it seriously and not just look at it as, a speculative trading instrument. Bitcoin, as the saying goes, you don't change Bitcoin, Bitcoin changes you. And I really want to get this through to people. And my deed at the moment is, of course, this podcast, which is storytelling. Because, one thing is telling people about charts and memes, but the other thing is for people to hear how Bitcoin is impacting people's lives and changing them forever.
Do you feel like this model is still attractive? Like bringing plebs and like
Yeah,
who cares? Who cares what's my Bitcoin story? I mean, everyone has some Bitcoin story, and like I'm
correct.
some no name, and it's not even unusual story. It's not teaching anyone anything. What's
Well,
your
well,
insight
my take
from
is it
doing this
doesn't,
episode?
it's not that interesting having a podcast where you only have, Safety and the Moose's Jeff Booths and Preston
Mm-hmm.
Pishes of the world. It's also interesting to give the light, to what we call the average pleb, that's doing his deed in this space. And at the end of the day, we're all humans, right? Doesn't matter if you're Tomek or you're Michael Saylor. We all have limited amount of time in this world, and we all have our own stories, which in of themselves are unique and have their own perspective, and it kind of shows that anyone can do it. You don't have to be this fortunate at the right place at the right time. Of course, that helps, but it kind of really pushes me to have a mixed guest list of some people who are doing big things in space and other people that may not know who Tomek is until this episode. And that's why I want to kind of give everybody the same opportunity to come on, share their story, and then of course discuss a little bit more of what they're doing in everyday life and how they're helping this space move forward. So two projects that you're
Thanks.
involved in, Tomek. Of course, the Albi, maybe we can get started with that, but then definitely I want to also circle back to the Bitcoin Film Fest, which I think you had a really, really big, so to say, occasion this year with you had the BTC Pay server, My Trust in You is Lost, I'll Make You Obsolete, and many other
Broken.
movies, Broken, and many other movies that were there, and it looked amazing. Unfortunately, as much as I want to go to all the good Bitcoin events around the world, I can't make them to all of them, but certainly people that I follow in the space have shared what an amazing event it was. So we'll definitely touch upon that as well. But let's kick it off first with Albi. So how did you get to join the team? And maybe to the listeners, I gave a quick summary of what it is, but maybe you can tell a little bit more and enlighten what you guys are doing at Albi.
Albi is an open source company, which might
That's what we
sound a
like.
bit counterintuitive, but we are building open source tools and still trying to make money on running this software properly.
Yeah.
It started as a project around this Lightning browser extension. So that's actually
Mm-hmm.
where name comes from. Lightning browser extension, Albi.
Ah.
Mm-hmm. And this extension allows you to use Lightning on the web, not only Lightning, but also on-chain Bitcoin, also Liquid, also use Nostr on the web in the way that is convenient and secure. So we let to send or receive sats with simple clicks, but still giving the user choice of connecting their own node, choice of connecting another wallet, or maybe connecting Albi account, which is another Albi product, also in such way that those events that you perform with the extension, Albi doesn't know what's happening. Albi doesn't know what's user balances on the extensions, what's the transaction volume. We don't even know how many users does extension have. And also, it's a very good tool to use in Nostr on desktops because the extension is logging you to Nostr or posting on Nostr or performing any Nostr event, but it's signing it locally on the machine. So your keys are not sent to the internet. It's also always important, right, to have your backup, to remember about it, because Albi as a team doesn't have a way to know or to retrieve your keys because they exist in your encrypted browser memory, local browser memory somewhere. So the extension is very useful if you guys want to use Lightning on the web, Bitcoin Invention or Liquid with certain wallets or tools, and for many apps like for podcasting, for publishing, Geyser that was already mentioned, or Stacker News, you can easily, having extension in a browser, you can interact with those apps or creators there and send them sats directly. Also, you can use Nostr, taking away from the user all the technicalities, right? So there is already mentioned. There has been mentioned two products: extension and account, was because we are kind of pivoting in this regard. This was Lightning Wallet. Then also Albi developed some open protocols that are, in our conviction, crucial to provide so-called building blocks for Bitcoin. If you get on Albi GitHub, you can find such technologies as WebLN or Nostr Wallet Connect that allows, maybe a regular user doesn't have to know about them, but for developers now, thanks to Albi and the world of open source contributors, it's super easy now to implement Bitcoin Lightning, Bitcoin in their apps without having to know how Lightning operates, to check for confirmations, to manage liquidities, because to implement Bitcoin payments with Nostr Wallet Connect, you basically put one string of text, one snippet to your code, and it works. So, and there is like various other tools. If you can also get it on our GitHub. We have listed around 12 different tools that help users use Lightning on the web or Nostr on the web, and also help developers build tools easily, so they don't have to worry about low-level stuff, but they can innovate and build great tool while the Lightning side is on us.
Amazing. Well, that's what I love about open source, right? And it's an open sandbox for everyone to come in and start building their own sandcastle instead of trying to, go everything from scratch, which I think the world would, and I think you would agree, Tomek, would be much, much nicer if everything would be open source, where, not everything is done behind closed doors and, kind of, voila, here we go, our new product. And then the new product is terrible and people hate it. And then,
there is a nice trend. There is a nice trend among that there is a movement of open source startups or open source companies, and there are such companies that even like publish everything about their team, how much who is earning and what's happening with the data. Of course, arranging all of that is not effortless, and we are also aspiring to be there as Albi. We try to be as open as possible, but it's also right the servers and the work costs. So such companies need to find some money to operate, and mostly, and we see other examples in the software world, is by maintaining and operating that code, which still is open source, which can be forked, maintained, verified by anyone.
No, definitely. Sometimes people forget about that the devs also need to eat, and as much as we like to give things and build things for free for other people to use, the people that build it still need to survive and make a living. But thankfully we do have great initiatives such as OpenSats. I don't know, has Albi applied for a grant from OpenSats, or is it on the books?
I don't think there has been any grant from OpenSats to Albi, but there might have been to certain technologies that OpenSats is sometimes giving. But I cannot speak for that. I'm not I haven't always been in Albi, so I don't want to lie. But no, Albi actually has some investors, right? So it's a company incorporated, registered in the US, which I'm not in the US. None of the team probably is at the moment. But yes.
But going back, so I mean, there's always space for getting additional support, and over time it would be nice to see also fellow Bitcoiners, not just stacking and hodling, but contributing to projects that they like, they use, and kind of giving back to the community instead of just being selfishly holding.
Even if you're a listener is not a developer, there are still many ways how you can contribute to the open source. Even simple like or share helps, right? Star on GitHub. Go to issues and suggest a feature if you see some open source project that you like. If you find a bug, report it properly so the team has easy way to find them and fix them. If you like Albi extension, go to your Chrome web store, give it a nice review. It drives adoption, right? It helps. We don't have that much marketing budget, so we want our users to be our marketeers. That's why also the domain that users get the Lightning addresses is call to action, get Albi.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I was thinking why it's at get Albi, but it makes sense now. You put the call to action right in the domain, which is a nice move. And yeah, I totally agree with you, Tomek. Not all support needs to be financial. Hence, just like this podcast, right? Nobody paid nobody any money, but we're still doing this to help out each other. And all of you listeners can do the same thing. Spread the word. dabbled. For those more technical guys can, check the source code and see if there's any bugs or report anything. But, a simple like and star on GitHub does definitely help. So make sure to do that, guys, after this episode. Now, I want to bring up another topic since you are such a hardcore libertarian, Tomek, your views and personal take on Nostr and how are you enjoying that, since kind of the traditional social media is so manipulative and I don't need to go into the details of how absolutely shit it's becoming. And now Nostr is kind of this, how Bitcoin's this glimmer of hope within the monetary system. Nostr is equivalent to it in the social media sector now.
Not only social media, it's kind of reinventing the internet and the way we distribute information, the way the
communication in general.
Yes, how is it being distributed? Who has the power when it's decentralized? Probably no one, right? Of censoring stuff, of managing identities, authentications. I also think that there is not only a sense of awe amongst Bitcoiners, but for our generation, there is some sense of nostalgia. And I kind of, when I'm using Nostr, I'm feeling a bit of nostalgia from the old internet, when there was like various quirky websites, which you had to know that if you go there, something magical could happen, but there were still not many users, but people were experimenting, and it was very decentralized. People were writing blogs, and like these communicators had many features you could actually use, right? There was this XMPP, for example, and even Facebook was using this protocol, and you could use various clients to use protocols. So it's not like of course, protocols is not a new thing, and Nostr also is something elegant, right? But it's not something that couldn't have been invented 20 years ago. It's a rather simple solution, and I'm always a fan of simple, elegant solutions when some simple, basic premises can lead to quite complex consequences, right? So, like those mechanisms that there is key pairs and that they authenticate each other, that there are the dynamics of the users, relays, and clients, kind of basic premises or simple mechanisms of key pairs, of dynamic between users, apps, and relays. They can lead to such apps that kind of were not possible in the traditional internet, maybe not before, but are not possible in the current environment of the digital space, where majority of like authentication is in Google, Facebook, and Apple, where if you want to be interoperable between various websites, you have to use those platforms to authenticate each other, but still there is no connection between website A and website B. So I think it's beautiful to watch it explore, to watch it develop. That it's simple, elegant solution, but people put so much hope there. And why? Probably something of this nature of this mechanism is just like with Bitcoin, right? It was using technologies that were known before. Blockchain was theoretically explored before, or cryptography or public key cryptography, but the combination of those, suddenly, we can have almost perfect money, right? I think Nostr is also redefining the internet in the communication in the same sense that Bitcoin is redefining money. So we still probably, we can imagine, but not all possibilities we can imagine of what type of interhuman relationship can be built because of this Nostr mechanism.
True, yeah.
If I'm speaking clearly, I guess you can understand me. But if my flatmate next door could hear me, you'd be like, what is that here?
No, it makes a lot of sense, and I totally agree with you that it's not that it wasn't possible before; it just wasn't possible in the Web 2 that we have now, where everything is kind of, each ecosystem is burdened by their own walls, and you have its own authentication, its own 2FA, its own like little things, and nothing is interoperable. And none of the data, which most people still today don't realize, they think, oh, it's my pictures, it's my Word documents. Nothing is owned by them. Everything is stored on someone else's computer, aka the cloud. But we really know there is no cloud. The cloud is just someone else's computer, and all the information, all the stuff that you're doing, you're kind of lending away to these institutions for them to go ahead and sell it to advertisers, which I know very well from my day job, unfortunately. And essentially, you kind of, everybody thinks it's amazing, it's free, it's, it's interconnected, but actually these systems are manipulating you in much weirder and really strong ways that you don't even realize, from the algorithms, which are bombarding you with stuff that they want you to see. And Nostr, it's kind of this refreshing take. I totally agree with you, Tomek. It's like the early days of the web, even though I was very young when the web was coming out, so I can't really experience that. But I do resonate with the things that you were saying, where kind of we're in this exploration stage where, people are trying out different things and collaborating. And it's nice that, not everybody's on Nostr, so that, it's still kind of a small growing community of builders and freedom believers. And at the moment today in 2024, Nostr is full of Bitcoiners, but who knows what it's going to be in 5 years. I think slowly other, ethoses and other industries will come into it. May that be healthy living, may that be sciences, may that be arts, musicians, writers, and so forth. It's going to be amazing to see everything that's going to develop on it, because it's only been 3 years, and it's crazy what's already been built.
I was already slowly getting bored of the internet. How often you can go to Facebook or Google, and it didn't give me this sense of excitement when when it was 20 years ago. And now with Nostr, yes, it does, right? Maybe things do not work properly. Maybe things look a bit shady, or maybe no one is using them. But
that's also exciting, right?
Yeah, yes, that's probably that's why exciting. I sometimes prefer to use those obscure clients than shiny ones.
Yeah. And I mean, the fact that there's so many different clients coming on. So I recently visited BTC Prague, where actually Albi was the place that came onto my radar, because there was a lot of talk about Albi, and there was some good people spreading the good word about it. And over there, up to BTC Prague, I was always using Damos, and then I got introduced to Primal, which at the moment I love Primal. And there's every few months there's something new that comes out, and it's always exciting, to try out. And I totally agree with you, Tomek. Sometimes some things don't work, but that's also kind of the charisma of it, like if everything would be working flawlessly, then it gets kind of boring. But here you're always kind of, and you feel like you're in these early stages of development, because things are still getting built out. And the more beautiful thing, you're also being a part of it, like with Albi, what you're doing with, integrating the Nostr payments and Lightning extensions. It's a big part of it, because you want to simplify people's use cases and experiences, because, not everybody is so technically savvy to set up their own, off-grid cold storage nodes and whatnot. So it's nice that
even for Bitcoiners, those things are quite confusing and complicated. So I don't think Nostr is, or maybe certain use cases of Nostr, they found their product market fit even among Bitcoiners. Even if there will be more of us, still we have a lot to learn, and developers need a lot to learn. And of course, it's not that pink and bright as we might dream it to be, right? Somebody has to, still the Nostr cloud is somebody else's computer. So if you don't want this to be somebody else's computer, you need to run your own relay. But it's also not new. It was always the case. Instead of having it on Google, your photos on Google storage, and having training some AI with your mother photos, you could rather keep your photos on your personal drive on the virtual, or maybe some other private network. And I also, before Bitcoin, before Nostr, I wasn't thinking in these categories. So it's not that Nostr provided me, because now I'm also now I'm not using Nostr when I'm storing my photos, or photos of my mom or my dad or whoever. But Nostr made me more aware of privacy, of control over data, of decentralization.
Do you run your own server with your own data?
I don't run it online. I just have the drive at a home network.
Okay, and what, like, you use, like, out of personal interest, because I'm looking to do an option. Are you using Nextcloud, or what are you using to store your data on your home
Uh,
server?
that's some custom software from the router.
Okay, I see. Do you have any experiences with Nextcloud? Because I've been reading a lot about Nextcloud, but I don't have
I
any
don't.
experiences with it yet.
I
So
don't. But can't you also have the cloud server when you have Umbrel or Startmail?
yeah, but you need to choose like an application to run it on, and I think Nextcloud is on it.
Okay.
So I'm looking to explore that, but I was just seeing if
No,
out
I
of
still
personal
look
preferences.
how much way to go is that for us, right?
It
This
is.
personal setups is still something that isn't totally not ideal in my case, and I'm
Sure.
only learning. Uh,
Sure.
I will learn when I learn.
We're all students, Tomek. Don't feel like you're the and whoever says that they finished learning, well, they haven't even started yet, because there's so many things. Even people that have been in the space for 12, 13, 14 years are still learning new things every day. And the thing with technology is, and Bitcoin, at the end of the day, it's a software, right? It's always evolving. There is no like, oh, I know everything about it. Or Nostr, especially, it's like an infancy, it's like a seed that's like starting to, well, the stem hasn't even come out. We're still in the watering stage of Nostr. It's important to always
Yeah.
be evolving and trying new things, and not being stuck in the same old routine, which I think kind of led us as humanity to this limbo effect where we are, if we kind of compare the lens to the legacy markets and the real world, as we call it, where people just got too comfortable. They get their paycheck at the end of the month. They put on their Netflix, everything's at the tip of their fingers. And who should change? Life's fine, but then if you don't change the innovation and just the way evolution goes, it kind of leaves you behind. And that's what I like with Bitcoin and these new protocols such as Nostr. It gives you this drive to keep on exploring, being hungry for new things and trying out new things. Not be scared to try out new things. Yeah, you might break some things along the way, but you still need to do some actions. And at the end of the day, time, which I talk about time on this show, which is the most precious thing. I gave the analogy earlier. I said, Tomek, when you asked me, why is it interesting to have, ordinary people on the show? It doesn't matter if you're Michael Saylor or Jeff Booth or Tomek. Going back to time now, we all share the same time. We all have 60 seconds in 1 minute, 60 minutes in 1 hour, and 24 hours in 1 day. And what we choose to do with that
100
time.
million Satoshi in one Bitcoin.
Well, correct. Well, also Bitcoin now gave us a new essentially time chain, right? Because it's not a blockchain. Satoshi never used the word blockchain in his white paper. He always used the time chain. We have a new way of measuring time, which is on average, each block is 10 minutes. So our new minute is on average every 10 minutes. But the point is that our time is really precious. And, if we don't explore and make the most of it now, on our deathbeds, we will be regretting things. Why didn't I do more? Why didn't I tinker with those things? So I kind of try and push my listeners and the audience to try out new things and be proactive, even if you're not technical, which I am in no means technical, but I still like to, dabble with things that are semi-understandable to me, and, at least urge people to try out different things. So yeah, I guess this show is also about self-exploration, and I guess Bitcoin's also a big part of that. As you mentioned, privacy, what Nostr has gotten into before I started this podcast and getting into Bitcoin myself, some 5-6 years ago. I never thought about healthy living, how does sciences work, politics, just culture, Austrian economics. Never heard of that concept. Like, there's so many things that Bitcoin just kind of is really this Pandora's box. The more you learn about it, the more you're like,
Yeah.
wow, like I've been fed so much bullshit my whole life, and now I need to unlearn everything, rewire my brain. And then you go out and you speak to, when some people call no coiners, I like to call them pre-coiners. And yeah, they look at you like, holy shit, like, you're some conspiracy theorist. But I'm like, guys, like, take it easy, take your route, take it slowly. And you realize in a few years, or maybe 10,000 hours later after studying Bitcoin, that, we're not conspiracy theorists and tin hat guys, but we're really seeing the world for what it is. And thanks to Satoshi, which did this great discovery. You mentioned, I don't know, was it Nostr or Bitcoin, that it wasn't invented, but it certainly was discovered, right? And we actually, the last episode we recorded last week was with Knut Svanholm, and we talked about this a little bit, about Bitcoin being discovered and not invented. Because these technologies existed before Satoshi put everything together.
These technologies, yes, you can, in sense, you can say that, well, Shakespeare didn't invent Romeo and Juliet because all of the words have existed before, right?
True.
The
But
innovation
he made a good story of it, right?
Yes, actually, Romeo and Juliet is quite a good story. So I never could grasp this invention versus discovery dichotomy, but probably I need to listen to that episode because Knut sounds like a person who can speak about it.
No, definitely. And I mean, his book, Everything Divided by 21 Million, which I'm just finishing off, it talks a lot about that as well. And, in that analogy of discovering or not inventing, Steve Jobs, right? Steve Jobs he wasn't a techie himself. He didn't invent the mouse. He didn't invent the personal computer, but he connected the dots to make what Apple, essentially computer Apple One was. And the same thing goes with Satoshi, right? He didn't invent 256. He didn't invent, many of the things. He was a dot connector and I guess a jack of all trades, a person that wasn't only technical but understood, sound money and hard finance. And he kind of put these things together, just like Fiat Jeff put Nostr together, the protocol. So it's not something that everybody can do, but it's certainly, if you put the right ideas and, as you mentioned, kind of putting the right components together, brings a new world to fruition.
Yeah, but you got me thinking. What else just from his mind, not standing on shoulders of giants, could have Satoshi add to Bitcoin that we would say, or you would say, that he invented Bitcoin rather than discovered? Because of course there will be always some connection of dots, and steam engine was also a connection of dots of thermodynamics, of some mechanics. When would we speak of invention? Did Knut shed some light on this difference?
That's a egg or chicken question. I don't know which one came first.
Okay.
I don't know. It's how far you want to go back. In my belief, creativity. When I was growing up, my art teacher told me that creativity is not something that you're born with, like some people say, but creativity is when you see a lot of different things, may that be images, may that be sculptures, may that be fictional or non-fictional, and you put different ideas to reinvent something, right? So it goes with this discovery tool of once again mixing things around, and that's kind of what AI also does, right? And AI doesn't invent things; it rediscovers things that have already been inputted into its learning language model. No?
Yes, but okay. Now I think that if you talk about discovery, you speak about something that has existed before or could have been existing regardless of if somebody discovered it or not.
Yeah.
And then an invention, probably if I don't know, Stephenson wouldn't invent the steam machine, somebody else would, and actually that's what happened in a different form. And that's also an invention, but it's the differentiation of something else. Maybe it shares some platonic form together. With Bitcoin, probably if Satoshi wouldn't have published white paper and wouldn't be mining with some peers joining him later, probably somebody else would discover. But would it be Bitcoin or would it be something else? Would it be substantially similar? We are not sure. So I don't think we can speak about discovery of Bitcoin. You can discover Galapagos Island because it was there before, and you are the first human to see it with your binoculars. But you can invent only the islands in Dubai or somewhere that were not there before your mix of thought and labor.
That's an invention, right? Because they weren't there before.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
Invention.
I guess we will leave it up to the listeners to decide and tell us in the comments, is Bitcoin a discovery or an invention?
Oh, there could be a poll.
We can do a poll.
We can do a poll on Twitter, yes.
We
I
can
love
do a
polls.
poll, definitely. Are polls possible on Nostr?
Yes, but not many clients support it, and
Okay.
I'm a bit also sad about it. I think there are Snort has some polls, Nostrudel has polls.
Primal, which I use, I don't think
Another.
there's polls because I wanted to do a poll and there
Primal
wasn't.
doesn't have a poll.
So what
Well,
happens if
it's
you do a poll on let's say Snort? Does it show up on the Primal interface on the client
I
when you're
thi-
using it or no?
I don't think I think it's a node of a different kind, that it's
Huh.
not being read as a regular node.
Okay. All right. Well, there we go, guys. We still have a lot of building to do and integrating.
But there is one developer up high who has built forms.xyz, which is like
Okay.
a Google form, like or type form on Nostr. And recently, like a week or two ago, he published Polarama, which
Okay.
is polls on Nostr, a
Oh,
tool for polls
nice.
on Nostr. So for sure there is use case and there will be users.
There will be for sure. Awesome. So I guess this would be a nice way to transition to your second project which you're involved in. So Bitcoin Film Fest. How did that come about? And I guess did you start this initiative or this was a group of people, or how did that story come about?
I was running, I am still running monthly Maxi meetups in Warsaw, in Poland.
Yeah.
And before this, one of these meetups, I thought, let's search on Twitter if there is any, like maybe somebody is visiting Bitcoin, as in Warsaw, some Bitcoiner, and he posted. So I searched like Bitcoin or Bitcoiners or crypto Warsaw, right, and put it in like a search query, and I found like latest sort by latest, and I found there was one guy, actually a girl, who was saying, "Oh, me and my boyfriend, we are in Warsaw, Bitcoin hashtag Bitcoin." So then I clicked on them, and this guy Pierre, he's a, his profile says he's a Bitcoin filmmaker. He made some film, Great Rusa, that maybe I should have known. I didn't know. I clicked on. Looks like okay, 300,000. Let's invite him. Maybe let's show his film at the meetup, right? We can put a
Yeah.
projector. Why not? So I messaged him, and he was happy to see my message. Of course, let's do a projection of my movie. That didn't happen. I kind of screwed with organization and couldn't arrange the projector and agreement from the bar that we could like occupy the basement or something. So, uh, so following on that failure that we couldn't screen one film, we decided that it's the best idea to show 8 movies in many screens and in cinema, right? Simply, we got a bit intoxicated, and that's when lots of ideas come to your mind easily. Pierre told me about some other films being created in the space, and I'm addicted to organizing stuff. While also I love cinema, so it was kind of natural that we thought, okay, let's do
Match
a
made in
Bitcoin Film
heaven.
Festival. Very quickly, like our girlfriends joined and some volunteers joined, and we put together in 3.5 months. So we put together the first Bitcoin Film Festival in Warsaw last year. We screened 8 films, and the initiative was rolling. We launched a website and quite active social media profiles, newsletter, a few podcast episodes. We have been like promoting films from the Bitcoin space and also filmmakers who are Bitcoiners, but also Bitcoin mentions in legacy cinema. And we will be trying to network people in this space. Putting them together even on some list group of people, Telegram group that, hey, there are filmmakers, maybe somebody needs a cameraman, somebody is looking for investment. And so the first festival kind of put us on a map, and then things followed up because it looks like the cinema industry, Bitcoin cinema industry, or we sometimes call it binema, has existed before. We didn't invent it, but we kind of discovered it. And the industry invented it, but there was like no group in the center of it. And us doing this festival made other people like emailing us or DMing on Twitter. Oh, hey, I'm actually a filmmaker. Do you want to talk and meet? Oh, hey, I'm doing this conference. Do you want to come over and show some films? Oh, hey, we're doing film workshops. Do you want to participate? So that's how it grew to our surprise, and we decided to do another edition. And it looks like it will be annual Bitcoin Film Festival. We aim to eventually replace Hollywood.
Nice. Well, we have to. We're slowly replacing all old systems, so Hollywood definitely needs to be replaced. But it's really interesting. Yeah, it's really interesting to hear how out of a simple idea, it's growing into something that the community is really taking. So I guess next year, do you have dates on when it's going to be happening, or not yet?
We are aiming every year to have it at the last weekend of April.
Okay.
But the next year date is not yet confirmed. We just need to sign agreement with the cinema, which soon we should maybe. Last year also we announced the date in August, so I think this year would happen the same. Last year it was a bit more tricky because we decided on date in June, and we June 2023, right? We were looking at the spring 2024, thinking where we could do a Bitcoin Film Festival when, and it looks like halving could happen around that time. But when exactly, you never know, right? It can be Wednesday, it can be Tuesday, it can be March, can be May. When should we do it? And somebody suggested that it's gonna be a block 840,000. 840 times 2 is 420.
Yeah.
So it's going to be in April 20, 420. It's halving number 4, 420, 2024. There is just too many numbers.
Too many synergies.
Bitcoin is too magical for this not to happen on 420. So in June, we booked the venue. In July or August, we announced and started getting reservations, call for submissions. And the halving came. We just manipulated hash power that way that the halving happened 2 hours
You plugged in some more
420.
ASICs, to keep up with the pace, just to make sure 420 is the day.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. I guess, Tomek, like a closing question that I ask all of my guests: what do you envision, and what would you like to see for Bitcoin to do in the future? It's already done a lot of things, but kind of how do you envision Bitcoin changing our society? Being a libertarian that you are.
Well, I don't want to be cliche, right? Because if you ask this question to many of your guests, you probably got a quite organic answer, and there is like a canon of maxi answers. So I will try to be a bit more original. How do I envision smaller budgets and less wars? And
Or we can make it simpler. What's one thing you envision of Bitcoin? Because there's many different things that Bitcoin can change, possibly everything, but one thing that you really see Bitcoin changing in our future.
probably as a humanity, I don't like this collective thinking, but eventually there is some average attitude. We will be more responsible, more forward thinking. We can see that it happens in our personal lives.
Yeah.
That our time preference is lower. That we tend to appreciate things that last more than things that last short, but and even cost us in the future for temporary pleasure. It gives, as you said, it makes you think about economy, think economically about your life, about your health, about your choices. It's gonna happens with you, it happens with me, it happens with many of my Bitcoiner friends. If this would happen with society, with like, if we believe that Bitcoin will be money of everyone someday in the future, then those attitudes, those, I don't want to say fixing, but more healthy, from this perspective, more healthy ways of living will be probably more impactful to the society and to our planet than the Bitcoin and its financial gains themselves.
True.
I can see that happens among Bitcoiners and among people who use Bitcoin on the individual scale, small group scale. We need to test it how it's, and probably, I don't know, maybe looking at Salvador, where if culture is changing because of Bitcoin. I'm fascinated by this connection, right? How the infrastructure can influence culture.
Yeah.
How and it like also seeing this happening in cinema. Of course, this industry is still young and small, and you cannot judge from the test few years and few titles that we have. But I believe that Bitcoin cinema will also represent a different culture than Hollywood cinema. So far, our cinema is mostly documentaries, so yet it's yet to be seen and decided. I hope we are not only speculating. I hope there is already enough proof on individual scale and observation of how certain mechanisms work, how even the simple fact that thanks to simple, maybe not the thing simple, but like one of the narrow pieces of it is that monetization models of text, digital content, whether it's music or movies, they already tend to influence the culture, the thing that is being sold. Because when we have the monetization economy of digital goods based on advertisement, it's going to lead to clickbait.
Yeah.
It's going to lead to a
Consumerism.
quick, cheap eyes. And if this monetization model will be based on a direct appreciation through Bitcoin Lightning micropayments, perhaps, that there is no intermediaries between artist, let's say artist and consumer, but they can appreciate each other with words and with money directly and privately. It will make their connection closer, so the artist will produce things that consumers want more rather than their publishers want, and the publishers won't just click from there, and the appreciation doesn't matter that much. Like it's not directly visible. It's also this relationship is yet to be explored, but I can see this is already happening, and we can see this as much as we would call Nostr a bubble, that there is a higher quality content than on average on social media. And when I scroll Facebook or Twitter, and I do that, and I'm being
Get frustrated now with the things that you see.
Kind of frustrated. I feel bad. I don't know why. I probably the content also feeds me something about the world that I don't even care. I don't even want to know, or feeds me some stupid entertainment or advertisement, which maybe sometimes okay. Advertisement maybe sells me something that I want, but regular social media already bore me and make me feel bad. While when I'm on Nostr, and Nostr also is built on a different monetization model, so there is different relationship between those who earn on clients, on apps, or on content, and those who pay and appreciate each other with apps. Doing that, I'm excited, as I mentioned before, exploring Nostr, and it's giving us, if not hope, I hope that this hope that we share sometimes a bit too much, not us two, but us two maybe today also. I hope that it's not futile, that it's not vain hope that we like to repeat and we pat ourselves backs and yeah, Bitcoin will fix it. I think we can already observe it, and it's good to take a notes when we see these things happening, because this at least will ground our hope in facts. Let's collect them and let's make this hope realized.
Nice. Well said, Tomek. That was quite a. How do you envision the future of Bitcoin happening? But to summarize it, it's truly to get humans. I guess the takeaway from that was kind of focusing more on experiences than monetary value, which I would fully agree with you, because we enter this world butt naked with no money. We leave this world butt naked with no money. And this life is actually all about experiences. And I would say that Bitcoin and people within Bitcoin make these experiences more worth living and inspiring compared to the traditional world where it's all kind of me against you. You know, I have a better car, I have a better house. It's all about like, you don't have that in Bitcoin culture. It's more, it's really true, you know, being humbled down. The more you learn about Bitcoin and the more time you spend in it, it does humble you, you know, no matter what monetary money you would have, that doesn't mean you're going to go out and buy a Lambo. On the contrary, you're going to be saving for the future generations to be financially free and really, you know, appreciating every moment. I think Bitcoin gives us this true reconsideration of having the full experience that we can and appreciating time that we have on this world compared to the old world, as I call it. The BC is not before Christ, it's before COVID, by the way, which is all about like rat race and, you know, off to my next meeting. Oh, I gotta go here. And you forget to live, you know, like the only time is truly now. The past is the past. We cannot change it. And the future is whatever we make of right now, you know? So Bitcoin does, to me at least, reassure us, you know, to take care of and do the right things in the now, not cry over what happened, and just do
and
the
not
most of
hope
every
too
moment.
much, not
What's going to
hope too
happen tomorrow?
much for the future and talk what
Correct.
Bitcoin will fix. But
Correct.
I'm glad that we can at least have this enjoyment and excitement.
Correct.
And even if this all hopes are futile and our efforts
It was a fun ride.
go wasted, it was a fun ride. And it's about friends we made, right?
True, 100%, 100%. Tomek, so where can we send our listeners to follow you online and support the projects that you're doing? I guess Nostr is the one. No need to read your ex-pub. We will link it in the show notes. But anywhere else apart from Nostr?
Yeah, probably various platforms. I mainly go on Twitter or Nostr with Tomek K, ITS Tomek K. It's probably easy to find me. If not, Bitcoin Film Fest, Albi, even easier to find. Please follow these projects. Send me or us some messages, whether you guys have some questions about Bitcoin films or have some questions about the upcoming Albi change, because very soon we are actually turning fully self-custodial, and
Nice.
there will be no more custodial wallets. So
nice.
I don't want to scare anyone, but the default setup will be the one where our users have their own keys, and we not only do not know what's happening with the extension, but also we cannot have access to your sats because they are not anymore on Albi node. We don't want your stats.
Well, there you go. Not your keys, not your sats. Thanks again, Tomek. It's been such a pleasure meeting you. I'm happy to have a new Bitcoin friend in the space, always looking to expand the circle. I hope to one day get to Warsaw to attend the Bitcoin Film Festival in flesh. And experience it and have a beer and enjoy it. But until then, if there's any way we can help or any announcements you'd like us to make, we'd be more than happy to support and share the love. And once again, thank you so much for taking the time to coming on the show and sharing your story.
My pleasure. Take care, everyone.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, I would highly appreciate it if you could boost, rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast platform of your choice. It would greatly help us spread these incredible stories and the message of Bitcoin freedom. Also, feel free to reach out to me and follow our social media accounts on X, Nostr, YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. I appreciate all of your support and make sure to tune in next Thursday for the next episode. Thanks for listening, and remember to stack sats and stay humble.